Hey everyone, and welcome to another bite-sized tactics video. In this video we are going to be doing a quick analysis on the Screamer Killer, one of the newest Tyranid models that just dropped at the start of 10th edition in the Leviathan box set. The Screamer Killer can move 8 inches, has a toughness of 9, a 2+ armor save, has 10 wounds, also a leadership of 8+, and has objective control 3. The Screamer Killer can only run by itself, but you can have up to 3 in a list. The current points cost for the unit is 170. The main and only keyword to really take note of for the Screamer Killer is that it is a monster, so just be careful on stratagems your opponent can use, take note of the stratagems you can use for monsters, and also just be wary of other unit abilities. The abilities of the Screamer Killer is that it has Deadly Demise 1, so when this model is destroyed you roll a d6. If the result is a 6, all units within 6 inches of the model take a mortal wound. And it also has its own inbuilt ability called the Death Scream. So after this unit has shot, you chose one unit that it hit and they have to take a battle shock test, subtracting 1 from the result. The Screamer Killer is equipped with a Bioplasmic Scream and the Screamer Killer Talons, and there are no variations for this unit. The Bioplasmic Scream has the Assault and Blast abilities, which is quite handy and very good, and both weapons can do a lot of damage to your opponent's infantry and mounted units, and can even do some decent damage to your opponent's vehicles and monsters, especially once in combat. So let's look at some of the weaknesses of the Screamer Killer. So the Screamer Killer doesn't have any invulnerable saves, so weapons that can deal lots of damage at a high AP, like a las cannon, are quite a big threat. Any weapons with the anti-monster ability basically guarantee wounds against you, so you need to be careful of that as well. Also, your opponent may have stratagems or unit abilities that directly affect the monsters in your game, so just be careful to ask those questions and know what to do about it. Also, being move blocked can be a big threat, and you don't want to hold up the rest of your own army, as the Screamer Killer does have quite a large base, so just be wary in your movement phase. Also, if you do get locked into combat, you can still be shot at, and you don't want to be bogged down with a chaff unit that's just there to hold you while a big gun just shoots at you directly. Also, the Screamer Killer must stay in synapse range of your army because it doesn't have the synapse keyword, so you can roll that extra die for battle shock tests. Now, let's look at some strengths for the Screamer Killer. The Screamer Killer is still eligible to shoot in combat thanks to Big Guns Never Tire, so if you are stuck on an objective, you can still do secondaries like deploy teleport homers in the midfield or cleanse on the side objectives. The Screamer Killer is a good anti-infantry model, and having the Assault and Blast ability on their weapons is great for movement and again getting more attacks against infantry. The Screamer Killer can also do reliable damage to your opponent, as the strength and AP of their weapons are quite good. The Screamer Killer has a good synergy with other units, and its inbuilt ability to cause battle shock is quite a good ability for being able to deal more damage to elite infantry. This unit is also really good at acting independently, and since most of the Tyranid infantry are not great at dealing damage to your opponent's models, you might want to include this unit to deal with those threats and give your opponent less to play with. So there are no characters that can lead the unit, however there are some helpful units in the Tyranid army, such as the Winged and Regular Hive Tyrant, which can target the Screamer Killer with a free battle tactic stratagem if it is within 12 inches, once per turn. The Psychophage can also give any unit within 6 inches a 6+ Feel No Pain, while the Venomthropes give the benefit of cover within 6 inches, but you will not gain a stealth ability because you're a monster. Zoanthropes also give the unit within 6 inches a 6+ invulnerable save. So we spoke before in the weaknesses how this unit doesn't have any invulnerable saves, so high AP will damage it quite easily. However, at least it is a 6+ invulnerable save, so you somewhat make your unit a bit more durable. So by now, I'm sure you're thinking, well, this probably isn't a big mission play piece, but there are quite a few ways to use it. Now, I wouldn't be expecting the Screamer Killer to score you a lot of primary points, because that's not its main role, and I wouldn't expect it to get you many secondary points unless you took killing specific secondaries like a Bring It Down, maybe Assassinate, possibly. But basically, this unit's role is to kill your opponent's infantry and give them less to play with, and maybe soak up some damage from bigger guns and take those guns away from your other units like a Norn Emissary or a Hive Tyrant or your Swarm Lord. Now you could put the Screamer Killer on your front line, and if you get to go first, you charge your opponent's infiltrating units or scouting units that got too close to your line, or you get right up into the midboard and set up charges for round 2. Alternatively, you could get the Screamer Killer as a counterpunch unit, especially to Terminators that you know are going to do a lot of damage to you. Now, Terminators can rapid ingress for free, so you could play around that, but you just have to be careful. And then in your turn, you can shoot them, possibly make them fail a battle shock test, which is important because then they can't use Armor of Contempt, they can't use any -1 damage stratagems, and they cannot fall back from you using any other sneaky stratagems that are definitely in pretty much most attachments. And then once you line them up for a charge and get in there, you have your -2 AP Talons, and you also have flat free damage, which will just kill a Terminator outright, and that's something that a lot of units do struggle to have. So another good part of the Screamer Killer that's great for mission play is that it does act independently, which means you could just add it to your list as an anti-infantry monster and just set them up somewhere like in line with your enemy's infiltrating units, or just on maybe their weaker side where a couple of infantry units are placed, and just send them that way. It is somewhat tough with the 2+ armor save, and it will give your opponent a little bit of problems, and it gives them less to play with during the game as well. I still think that the Screamer Killer isn't that durable. Even with a 2+ armor save, it's still only got a toughness of 9 with only 10 wounds and no invulnerable save, making it quite vulnerable to those higher damage weapons with high AP. Because the Screamer Killer lacks durability, it is a little reliant on other units for its own survival, and that can really hold it back from what you really want it to do. I think that the best strength of the Screamer Killer, and why I think most people would consider putting one in a list, is because it can act independently from the rest of your army. This unit won't be scoring you points, but what it will do is reliably damage your opponent's infantry units that they would want to score points with. And that is why your opponent will perceive this unit as a threat, making it more of a problem for your opponent to have to kill it, and you probably don't mind if it does get targeted early on and possibly destroyed. It wouldn't be too surprising to see one in a list, but for 2 to 3 to be in a list, it's probably for more of those thematic players that are wanting to build a narrative with their list, and they're probably trying to run the Crusher Stampede detachment, which has a big focus around the monsters. Thank you for taking the time and watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like. If there's anything you'd like to let me know about the Screamer Killer or how you like to use it in your own list, feel free to use a comment. And if you'd like this content and would like more, feel free to subscribe and be notified about all upcoming videos.